Good afternoon, good evening to all my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously. So, oh, come on. My lights are having a bit of trouble today, my delicious little babies. We shall get there. Oh, there we are. They are on, are they? Well, anyway, we're having trouble today, my delicious little babies. We're having a lot of trouble with our lights. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's nearly 2:30. My delicious little babies, I'm wearing my old top. You know, this is what I do, you see. I could put another top over it that's newer, but I choose to use the old one. You know what I mean, my delicious babies. Anyway, we haven't party. No, anyway, they'll come on when they want to. Anyway, my delicious babies. So, what's the weather like? So we got a little bit of brew. Do you ever remember that aftershave, my delicious babies? That just came into my noddle. Brute. Is it brut or brute? There's lots of brutes, isn't there, my delicious babies? Yes. Anyway, yeah. So very cloudy, not so very nice, fluffy clouds, you know, and a little bit of blue sky. But that's that. Anyway, it's going to be a quick video. So I've got some little things to show you today, my delicious babies. So this is number one. Okay, my delicious babies. The next one, well, I suppose it looks like a little penguin, doesn't it, my delicious babies? But it's just a different colour. It's not black and white. This particular one is like a very shiny blue with the beak, but it's holding on to, well, it looks to myself like a little wren. You know, they say about wrens and robins, like wrens are like for heaven, like robins. Do you understand what I mean? They seem to go together. Then I've got this my delicious little babies. She's just, or he's just been put through the washing machine, you know. Floppy legs and everything, you know. Little scarf there, you know. Back and front, you know. And you're seeing the carrot nose, aren't you, my delicious babies? Maybe somebody, you know, in the world, there we are, is they're smiling away, but there we are, they're not quite telling the truth, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? You know, like how, oh, got to move this out of the way, there we are, little baby. You know, like, excuse me, my delicious babies, how, you know, they've brought ones up to have snowman. You know, this is what leads me to this, my delicious babies. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? I've actually put up a shorty video. Just need to move the bow to the centre. Okay, my delicious babies, that's a little snowman. Frosty the Snowman had to hurry on his way. Don't you cry, I'll be back again someday. You know what I mean, my delicious babies, yes. Of course, it's a jar, isn't it? It's a jar. You can put many things in jars, can't you? But whoever came up with this idea, bless them, you know, it's just a beautiful idea, isn't it? You know, for the fake crimbo. Let's switch the light back on, shall we? You know, it's a really good idea, isn't it? See how the bow, it's just not sitting straight. It doesn't matter how many times, it just keeps moving. You know what I mean, my delicious babies? But it's a beautiful little... I bought that from Next many years ago, my delicious babies. It cost 15, ching, 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 15 squids for that, my delicious babies, you know, to put a little bit of foam in. You know, to put a little bit of plastic, you know, and there we are, and that's what you come up with, my delicious little babies. But anyway, it looks very nice, you know, for ones who, there we are, celebrate the fake crimbo. Okay, my delicious babies. I did give this to my dear cousin, because I was helping him for a little while, my delicious babies, and I said, shall I have this back? Because I don't feel that he needs it anymore, my delicious babies. Anyway, his bless his dear little soul, he's moved on to pastures now. I just helped him for a time, my delicious babies, but he's moved on to pastures now, and I've got a lot to clear up in my garden. Okay, my delicious babies, yes. So what am I telling you today, my delicious babies? What it is that let's just say that maybe for some in the world now, then we know who it is, isn't it? We know who you are, don't we? Okay, maybe they use the little lackeys, there we are, to leave there we are, a massive, colossal mess behind them. You know what I mean, my delicious babies, yes. So anyway, so let me very just quickly tell you about. Well, anyway, I've called a taxi today, my delicious babies, and I said to the driver, because I like to give them a treat. Like the drivers, I like to offer them a treat. You know what I mean? Not meaning that in a nasty way, never. Okay, my dear dad was the taxi driver. Okay, so if you get a tip, decades ago, if you get a tip, you get a tip. That was my way, there we are, of giving a tip. So I said, what would you like, driver? I said, if you want me to get you something from, the shop now then. And he said, oh no, I don't need it. I said, if you need anything, then please let me know. And then guess what he come out with, my delicious babies? You're never going to guess, you're never going to guess. He wanted a Diet Kirk. All in the name, isn't it, my delicious babies? I said, a Diet Kirk. And you're talking about a dear driver who has diabetes. I said, no, I'm not going to buy you that. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you a carton of pineapple juice. And then I asked behind the counter, I said, do you have a little cups? I said, sir, that my driver, I said, can have a glass of pineapple juice. So what I said to our dear driver now then, I said, when you're sparing a thought, I said about the Diet Kirk, I said, when you're drinking the pineapple, and he says, well, I eat a lot of pineapple. I said, that's good, an excellent antioxidant. I said, when you're doing that, pretend it's a Diet Kirk. So what is it that I'm saying in just this sentence, my delicious babies? So for anybody who seems to like the Coca-Cola, you know what I mean, my delicious babies, well, try to exchange it, there we are, for a different beverage. Okay, could be pineapple, could be cranberry, could be orange juice, could be, do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Because if nobody bought any more of Coca-Cola, whether it be normal, there we are, or zero, or diet, they seem to add it on, add it on, add it on, okay? They'll be bankrupt, there we are, in 2 days. 2 days. There we are. Okay, my delicious babies. So that's the addictions. So even though the dear taxi driver was slim, he wasn't a large gentleman. He's a shorty man, Talawa. But he's a very small gentleman. So there we are. Why should he have a diabetes? So I says, well, maybe it's your diet. There we are, that you need to change. There we are. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? Yes. I told the story months and months and months, whatever o'clock ago, about my dear dad. And he got diagnosed. And he's a tall man, very tall, okay? But he's not what I would say overweight in any way. And he's not nothing against anybody who's overweight. I do not mean it that way. But they seem to put a label. There we are. They stick a label. Do you see what I mean? My delicious babies. Well, my dad wasn't. So anyway, I said. So he said, I've researched this, Carla. He said, I'm going to do an 8-week diet. So he did, Please do not get me wrong, Martish babies. You know, he used to call me on the evening on the old dog and burn, and he used to say, Carla, he used to say, I used to say, good evening, Dad, how are you? Have you had a beautiful day? He used to say, well, I've had a lovely day. He says, but no, that's what he used to say, because he's Broad Yorkshire. He'd say, no, I've not had a good day, Car. I said, well, what's the matter, Dad? He said, this diet that I'm on. He said, I cannot have this, I cannot have that. And I says, well, then just, you know, you do what you want to do, Dad. Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, if you're not happy, I said, break. He said, no. He said, I'm going to stick to it. And that's the thing with my dad. 9 times out of 10, he would always stick. If he says he's going to do something, there we are, he will do it. Okay? And he said, no. He said, I'm going to see it out, Car. At the end of the 8th week, and let me tell you, it was there we are, miserable 8th week, because he couldn't have anything, not even gravy. You know, there's lots on, there we are, the gravy train, isn't there, Martinish babies, you know, in the alternative media, not to mention the poxy box in the corner of the room, you know, they've been on the gravy train for decades, you know, some of them, you know what I mean, Martinish babies. Well, he couldn't have none of that. He had to stick to your bland, basic. Now, if we go back decades, Martinish babies, now let me go back to my dad for a second, and then I'll revert to backwards, okay? The fact of the matter is, I said to my dear dad, at the end of all of this, I said, so do you feel better for it? You know what he said to me, Martinish, he said, well, actually, he said, I do. He said, even though he feels it's been horrendous, okay? Because you're talking about proper bland, like not having anything, you know, to keep that weight. So he lost 1.5 stone, and his diabetes shown a very positive signs, there we are, of going down, reducing. Okay, Martinish baby. So he said, yes, okay. And he was still working at the time. So basically, he said, I felt better that way. He says, but with that particular diet, he said, I just couldn't, you know, you could not, he said, when you're eating, you do not even feel like you're enjoying it. It's like, it's just bland, it's boring. There's no enjoyment. Okay. Now, so that's what I wanted to say there. So let's go back to decades ago. So if you look at our beautiful dear little Nana, I love my beautiful dear little nanny and granddad, so my beautiful dear little granddad and beautiful dear little aunties, uncles, everybody, okay, they still maintained a lovely weight, okay, but they ate, okay, healthily. There we are. Okay, Martinish babies, that's the point I'm making. There we are, in all of this, okay? So getting back to the taxi driver, you see, in the world, these poxy doctors and nurses, they're quite happy to talk a crock of effing sharp, man. Do you know what I mean? Stick that up to them, you know what I mean? The fact of the matter is that they need to, there we are, learn lesson them damn selves. You know what I mean? Because unless you get somebody who's super duper healthy, like a doctor or nurse who wants to keep healthy, and even then, even when they're slim, they go to the gym, that's not necessarily to say that they are, there we are, eating healthily or getting the correct nutriments in themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? There we are, Martinish babies, okay? So you could have somebody who could live to the age of 110. And the fact of the matter is, they may have a bit of a tummy on them, bless them. I actually feel myself that if you've got a little bit of a tum, well, what's wrong with that? If I was to meet my forever tomorrow and he's got a bit of a tummy, well, what's wrong with that? There we are, he's eating good food, isn't it? Okay? But he's not what you would call, you know, I just got the word, disproportionate everywhere else. But I don't have a problem with that, because I believe a man should have a bit of a tum. He shouldn't be one of these who has a 6-pack 24/7. Boom, 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 boom. Do you see what I mean, Martin? Babies? No, 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 no. Because that tells myself that you are dealing, there we are, with somebody who's very vain, somebody who wants to be recognised. But if they was to, there we are, to look in the mirror, they would see, there we are, that they are wonderful the way that they are. They do not need all of that. Okay, so this again is a stigma, and it's again the material world, because we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. Not, you know that we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. Madonna, prime example. You see what I mean? She was telling, there we are, everybody done telling with her damn self. There we are at that time. She's letting everybody know who she was. Do you see what I mean, baby? So what is it that I'm saying to you to conclude my video today? Is that, well, just got to tell you one more thing, but what's the point that I'm saying, my delicious babies? It doesn't take little or somebody is medium or large, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I would never offend anybody that way. What I'm talking about is it's a change. There we are, in the diet. There we are, that's all it is. And some would say, well, that's all it is. Yes, that is all it is. And this leads me on to one last thing I want to talk about, my delicious babies. My video won't get out anyway. Nobody listens. There's always somebody seeing. There's always somebody hearing. But really, to tell you the truth, nobody listens to my videos. So anyway, and it's a shame. But there we are. Do you know, there we are. It's a shame. But anyway. So I was due to be at this psychic evening yesterday evening, and I spoke about it on my video. And I pre-booked a taxi, something. There we are. Something's going on. Dixie, Chixie. Anyway, my delicious babies. You know the names. There we are endless. You know what I mean? Yes. And I pre-booked my taxi, my delicious babies, so that I could get there on time. Okay? Now, for myself, I never usually have a problem with the taxi firm that I ever, give business to, that I catch taxis. I never ever have a problem. So I pre-booked to be there at that time, 6 o'clock. Okay, my delicious babies. Anyway, so about, what is it? 5:47. I thought, hold on a minute. I thought my taxi's not here. I was all ready to rock and roll, ready to go. Anyway, so I called taxi firm. I mean, please do not get me wrong. I have since spoken to the taxi firm. There we are. And bless their beautiful, dear little souls. They have apologised. There we are, profusely. And they said, we're so sorry, Carla. I said, that's all right. I said, but I needed to be somewhere. They've paid for a service. And there was another two readers there. Okay, my delicious babies. So anyway, which I never knew. So thank goodness that I wasn't the only one. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, there were another two. Okay, my delicious babies. Anyway, and they said, well, the drivers are out at prayer. Now, I'm not racist. Anyway, I'm not even going to go no, I'm not going to go down that road, okay? I'm not even going to say it, okay? So what did I say to the operator? Right, we've got to say bless, okay? It wasn't the normal operators who I'd talked to, okay? So I said I couldn't give a shit. I said that they're in prayer. I said, you're running a damn business, isn't it? That's what I said. And I said, if you couldn't send a driver, there we are, then just be done saying it. You know, but don't let me pre-book. There we are. Ding, ding, dong, dong, common sense. Don't let me pre-book. I said, and you cannot deliver, isn't it? Okay? There we are. And that is what I was done saying, Martin. Anyway, in the end, I cancelled that taxi. Then I had to go for another taxi firm, and it cost me a ka-ching, £1.30 more. okay, because they're very well known for being overpriced, okay. Sorry, excuse me. So I got there in the end. I'm just going to tell you very quickly, my Irish babies, because I do not want to go on about this no more because I've got a healing to do very shortly. But anyway, it's not that I've got to do, it's that I'm choosing to. Okay, my Irish babies, so that's that. Okay, so I'm doing the angelic healing, okay, to help somebody, there we are, who genuinely has different problems with their body. Okay, the fact of the matter is this, is at the end of the day, my babies, so by the time I got to my destination was not till about, 25 past 6, when I should have been there for 6 o'clock on the dot. So that knocked me all out of flipping zinc. Do you know what I mean? Zinc. Do you know what I mean? My delicious babies. Remember the copper as well. Anyway, my delicious babies. So I went into the first room. The energy, there we are, was completely off. Okay, my delicious babies, it was really off. Now, for anybody who's come to myself for healing, especially if they've took 2 jibby jabs, depending on what the combination is, well, they usually look like a greeny, corally, pasty colour. So the first room that I went in, there we are, my babies, that's what I was seeing. Okay, so I said some things now then, but I actually said to them, I was done saying it, I said the energy is off in this room. Now I know when I go into the church, okay, that it's very warm, but this particular room in the conservatory was very cold. And I thought, there we are, I felt like there was a cloud, there was something, okay, there we are. And I really just couldn't, get myself, do you understand what I mean? So I give them some information, isn't it? As soon as the dear lady who owns a church, as soon as she went ding ling ling, there's no bell. It's like she's doing ding ling ling. And I said, thank goodness for that, I'm out of here. And that's what I said. I didn't want to be in that room. So then I went to the next room, my delicious babies. And yeah, it's a bit warmer. Okay, my delicious babies. And I give some information. It wasn't until I got to the last room, there we are, I thought, you know what, I'm comfortable in this room now then. Do you know what I mean? And there's a dear lady right next to me. And I said her name, and it was a dear husband. You see what I'm saying? There we are. So you could see where the energy started from number 1 to number 2 till you get to the point, there we are at number 3. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? I'm not using that as curd. There we are. I'm just done saying it. There was 3 different rooms. Okay, it's like a triangle, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is this, I really enjoyed that last room. I really, really did. I only had half of my fish and chips, has some curry sauce and some mushy peas. Oh, I love mushy peas, you know what I mean? My delicious babies. And I only had half of it, you know, because I'd eaten, there we are, a lot in the daytime. Well, it probably doesn't look a lot to some, what I eat, but it was a lot for myself to eat because I knew how much I wanted to eat. Like when you look at these YouTube videos where they go into, I mentioned this before, they go into these places and they're eating colossal amounts of food. My question is, my delicious babies, if we were all on a famine, there we are, in all different countries now, and you've got somebody who's yamming off food like that, okay, how is anybody else going to get some food? There we are. Please listen very carefully, there we are, to what I'm saying. Now, you probably think I pointed there. Well, it's true. Because you got this, but you're listening, aren't you? Because you're storing it here. Yes, ding, ding, dong, dong. Anyway, I'm not going to say no more. Anyway, I never change what I said. There we are. I refuse. I never change what I said. But it's theirs, there we are, to take on, ding, ding, dong, dong, what I said. You said to me, but I did feel stressed because I shouldn't have been stressed. I should have been able to just go from A to B, from one destination to another now, isn't it? And not have that stress. But can you see, there we are, how this rocks and rolls? And can you see Because if I would have drove, if I had a car, wheels, brum brum, I would have soon been there. Do you see what I mean? Okay, there wouldn't have been none of this. But when I walked in, I took a look and I thought, that's all I needed to see. And I don't mean that nastily, my delicious babies, but there's an awful lot. There we are, looking the flipping damn same way. So when I've been saying for months and months, there we are, and months before on my videos, that something is not correct. It's like there's some kind of a blockage, like usually where you get like one spirit guide, my spirit guide will bounce off another spirit guide. Something, there we are, is seriously wrong, okay? And I'm telling it, there we are, in my camera right now. But am I going to change who I am? Am I going to change whatever I've done? I spoke to my beautiful dear little neighbour next door. Bless the beautiful dear little soul. She's so beautiful, a beautiful dear little family. And she knows, there we are, what kind of reader I am. So I don't need to justify, there we are, myself to anybody at all, even to the dear lady who owns the church. She says, you're more than capable of everything, Carla. Do you see what I mean? She already knows me. Do you see what I mean? But there's an issue with what's going on. And that is what I've been saying, there we are, for damn months. The point I'm making is that something is seriously damn well wrong. Remember the eagle, and remember what they've done. The little fox, there we are, the little bastards, what they've done. Because they're blocking the natural spirit of our beautiful mankind out there, okay? Who otherwise, but the blockage is getting, there we are, more and more difficult to get through. That's the point I'm making, my delicious babies. But do I feel bad? Do I feel bad about anything? No, I don't. There we are. I was done saying what I said, and I come across probably, there we are, as being very harsh. There we are. But that's just the way it is with myself. You know what I mean? For myself, there's no grey area. It's black or white or nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay. But I didn't want to be in that first room, not at all. And it's just so strange because I sat in there many times with a beautiful dear lady who owns a church. We've had a cup of coffee, we've had a bite to eat or whatever, you know, we just chilled, you know what I mean? No problem at all, but the energy was completely off. It's like, I know what's going on. I do not really want to know what's going on, and that sounds very bad. Okay, but you can see the change in mankind, and that's what I'm going to leave my video on. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves, your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected, and how I love you so. Okay, please look after yourselves now. Please try to look after others. But no, I'm just done saying it. You know, somebody had come to me in the third room. It was so beautiful because I gave information. There we are. Okay, and then I did some healing. Okay, for a few dear ladies actually, and I did the angel card readings. No problem at all. But the first two rooms, something was not rocking and a rolling. Okay, my delicious babies, but the last room was wonderful. I said, you dear ladies, you know, not in that way, not in that way. I said, you dear ladies are lovely now then. Do you know what I mean? It's a different energy. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, and I'm going to leave it like that. This is what's going on now in the alternative media. Not murder, yeah, because some of them are murdering little effers, aren't they? Taking a ching, 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 you know, to draw out shart, isn't it? You know, just to feed the damn bank account, isn't it? Ka-ching, ching, ching, in your old skyrocket. Let them be, you know, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, yeah, because change, ka-ching, doesn't cover everything. Okay, my dish babies, but when you got the honest ones, there we are. Okay, my dish babies, there we are. That's where we're all rocking and a rolling. Do you see what I mean? So at the end of the day, who's winning, who's losing? Yes, we are losing some mankind, very sadly, with their noddles, with their auras, with everything. But guess what we are gaining? We are gaining strength. Okay, so you and I, okay, Mardish babies, and anybody who's very kind enough to cross my channel, which is very few. But thank you. Guess what? We keep a positive mental attitude. There we are at all times, because they haven't got all of us. Okay, Mardish babies, so I'll leave it like that. Love you. Take care. Thank you once again for listening. You just look after now. Goodbye.